On today's show, we talk news, as well as what are we drinking today. Delicious IPAs for all you haze bros. Here's a hint, I'm not drinking an IPA. As well as what order should we watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe in? Should we watch it with Iron Man? Should we start with Captain America? Find out, all starting right now.
All right, everybody, we are back on another edition of Hops Geek News. I am one of your two co-hosts. Mash alongside is Hoppy Mommy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing? I feel like Joey
Fantastic.
Tribbiani when I say
Oh,
that.
I'm over here like get off my lawn. Sound. What are we what are we drinking today? It's a Wednesday afternoon, so we're just day drinking like we always
Yeah.
should. Any human being should do because we're never getting off quarantine. But what you drinking over there?
I actually just opened a New England IPA from Ivanhoe Park Brewing, which is about 20 minutes from my house in Orlando. It's called Wapow New England
Man,
IPA. So I've teamed it up with a little bit of Wonder Woman, so I'll definitely post that picture, and I got it in my Wonder Woman glass. But yeah, this brewery did a whole series this summer where every day they released a beer, and it paired with like a project. I don't remember what the project was for this day, but I got like a little planter thing. They did planters things one day, and then they had a tie dye beer, and you could buy like a whole tie dye kit, and they did a s'mores one as well. So they're like, since we can't go to camp because the world's shut down, we can drink a lot of stuff and do some fun camp projects, even if we are grown adults. So
look, who said beer? Beer
fun.
is for everybody. They even give like little activities. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't
Yeah.
want to drink beer and then like make s'mores, things like that? I'm sipping on from Woodland Empire. They're kind of sneaky. Their artwork is the reason why I always go to them, but I'm drinking a false teacher from them, which I kind of chose because if you followed on the Instagram, my Death Star building Lego project, I figured this was like the epitome of Anakin Skywalker, Emperor Palpatine. It fit just right once the Death Star was done being built. The Emperor, all of his false teachings kind of played into where they were at now. So that's why I paired that up with the final
Ah,
building. A little play on words, that's what I was trying to do. I tried to pair it up.
nice.
But this one's actually a Berliner Weiss. I can never pronounce those right. But brewed with blackberries, vanilla, and lactose, and it kind of almost tastes like a sour, but I don't hate it. Like the color is really nice and deep purple. So it's pretty good. I think it's really delicious.
Well, yeah, Berliner Weiss is a sour, but they add lactose. I don't know if I've had one with lactose. That
Yeah,
must
I
like
haven't
smooth it
either.
out. Nice.
But they do a
But
lot of
that's
really
got to
good.
complement it well with the sour and the sweet.
I don't hate it. I'm actually kind of about it. It's a little thicker than your traditional, but
Yeah.
again, and I get nothing but like fruity flavors from it, and I've been kind of more on the sour train lately, I guess. I don't know what happened. I used to be
I
like, not
don't
my
know.
sours. I don't want sours. Oh, get that away from me. Now I'm like, this sour is pretty delicious. I think I'm gonna pop one open right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I had a sour, my untapped comment was, "What the fuck just happened?" And now I find myself buying them and drinking them by myself. So who saw that coming? I did not. But
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's just like, oh my God, there's no carbonation. Or I don't even know what it was. It was like something's missing. This isn't beer. What is this filth? And now I'm like, okay,
Right.
I'm kind of off my high horse. I'm not such a haze bro anymore.
Well, they felt like they weren't beer, but they're such a classic style of beer once you actually get to like learn about it. Like all the research I've done for beer school on our Thursday night hoppy hours, like I didn't know how old the like Goza and Berliner Weiss. I mean, they have recipes that are hundreds, if not thousands of years old. They think the Goza's from like literally over 1,000 years old. They just don't have any documentation to
Holy
prove it.
shit.
But so it's like, yeah, it's way more of a typical beer, I guess, than what we're used to drinking.
Yeah, it's like, well, actually, we're actually the first beer, and all these IPAs and shit are like completely far off track. Get it together.
Right.
Well, shoot, see, come here,
Like the
and you
first
learn a little
Avenger.
something new. Just like the first Avenger, yes. So, what? Speaking of First Avenger, what are we reading this week? Have you read anything good?
Well, I read the latest edition of Oblivion Song. That one I highly recommend. And Hops Heroes even commented on the post that they think that's an awesome comic book. So that's Image Comics. It's Robert Kirkman. That's an awesome one. And I did start Doom Patrol that you recommended on DC, but
Yes.
HBO Max, it's like they want people to steal their shows because I can only watch it on
Well,
my phone. So I've only been watching it on the treadmill. So I'm only like an episode and a half in. So
to
I
be
mean, it's
fair,
good, but like I don't want to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do
H
something that I shouldn't do.
HBO, well, see, HBO is like proud of themselves that they're the most pirated network, especially like Game of Thrones and everything. They're talking about like, yeah, we're the most pirated network. It's amazing, isn't it? And it's like, you just rolled out this streaming service in a time where everybody has a streaming service. Do you still want to get pirated? Is that your
Right.
plan? You just put it out just to put it out? We're gonna do one of these days. We'll get around to Game of Thrones. I don't know if I'll ever rewatch it, but I'll talk about my angstiness about it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I don't know if anybody else is familiar with HBO Max, but it's like there's two different. There's like HBO Now and then HBO Max, and so for some reason I'm doing it legally. I'm on a free trial right now, and I did it through Hulu and I did it on its own, and I still can't find Doom Patrol or Doctor Who on the TV, but I can find it on the phone.
That's
I
weird.
don't know. And when I Googled it, I'm not the only one that's had the issue, but honestly, I wasn't intending on paying for it regardless.
Right.
So as soon as the free trial is done, I'm going to cancel it. But and I'll figure out how to get Doom Patrol. But since I haven't really been watching, I did start Umbrella Academy too, and that's watching and drinking, not watching and drinking.
I haven't actually seen Umbrella Academy season 2 yet. I was watching, so I finished season 1 of Doom Patrol, and I just started up Titans, which is another. It was on the DC network. I don't know if that one's on HBO Max, but it's like another more adulty. It's about the Teen Titans, obviously. Only Robin's running around Detroit yelling "fuck Batman" basically now, which he actually that's a line in the show. He beats up a bunch of criminals and he's just like "fuck Batman." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, man! Like, what the hell's going on here?"
Oh, I was saying on HBO Max, I think it was breaking up a little bit. There's a few different Titan things, but they all look animated. Is the Titan show you're talking about
Yeah.
animated or is it live
No,
action?
it's
Oh,
live
okay.
action. It's really good so far. Like the CGI for Starfire, she's really good. Raven, the CGI with her is wicked good too. And then yeah, Robin's like this cop in Detroit now, and he's just running around like dealing with trying not to be like Batman, but he still beats people up, and he's just like, yeah, fuck Batman. And I was just kind of like, okay, all right, this is what we're doing. But it's like darker, whereas Doom Patrol is like the lighter of the two shows. So I think that one was on strictly the DC network, but I don't know. There's too many streaming services anymore. I can't keep up with who's where, and like I just can't. But so I've been watching Titans. I haven't really read anything this week. I picked up Darth Vader. There's a run of Darth Vader out right now. I picked up issue 3. I haven't really read it, but if anybody's read any of the new Star Wars comics that's been out for the last like 4 years or so, those are always a good time. The Darth Vader run previously is probably one of my all-time favorite like Star Wars comic runs. It's just Darth Vader basically going around like trying to go behind the Emperor's back, beating everyone's ass, and you really kind of see some of that raw power that we never really saw in the originals of Darth Vader. So I recommend reading some of the Darth Vader run of the Star Wars because that is really good.
Yeah, I feel like that might help me to better understand his character because I felt like Darth Vader's character development was very lacking. Like I feel like he's a very weak character. He's just so emotionally driven and but yeah, the comics I feel like sometimes give you a background as to why somebody might be like that, and then it
Yeah,
makes you appreciate the actual main story better. So, but yeah, I
which
haven't read any Star Wars comics yet.
I recommend those, but you're right. Darth Vader, you just like you're supposed to fear this guy. He's so badass. He's like this big bad dude, and you're just in the movies. You never get why he's that way. So you're just like, okay, I guess he's pretty cool. Yeah, he beats Luke's ass a couple times, but then like the ending of Rogue One, where he just goes down the hallway and slices everybody up, and I'm like, I want more of that. If we can get a movie where he's hunting like Jedi, I would pay all the money in the world just to watch him hunt Jedi for like 2 hours straight right after Revenge of the Sith, when he's like at his most powerful as Darth Vader because he loses power after he gets chopped up. So
Mm.
I will pay all the money for that if we can ever get that movie.
Yeah. He just like you see him as a good guy, and then he just very quickly turns bad guy, and it was too much, too fast. But
Yeah, that's going to be a whole nother episode on its own. Is like
yeah,
talking about the
well, Pat,
prequels because I love Revenge of the Sith is honestly like my favorite Star Wars movie, but it's not for reasons. I guess it's because like you get the Anakin Obi-Wan fight, and then you get all the good half good CGI. The acting is not good at all. The acting is horrible, but for the fight scenes alone, that's probably my favorite.
All right, so let's move on to news. Breaking news. We need the da 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 da.
I know. Well, I'm gonna try to add that in. Breaking news. We have
Forget
news.
the one that Jay has that he uses for Thursday nights. I don't even know. It's like I don't even know. I'm not very good. I'm not like the guy from what do you call Police Academy. So yeah, breaking news. So what have you heard this week?
We have first news is we have Haley Steinfeld. You may know her from the Bumblebee movie. If you've seen that, it's probably the best Transformers movie that they actually made.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
Man, that one is super good. It's got John Cena being John Cena. He's kind of cheesy in it, but she plays it. It takes place in like the 80s. Bumblebee comes to Earth, obviously at direction of Optimus Prime. He's hiding out, and then like the Decepticons track him down. And so they're kind of just fighting there. But Haley, yeah, she plays in that. And then she played in Pitch Perfect. You might know her from Pitch Perfect 3. If you're like me, those movies are my jam. I love Pitch Perfect. So she's in those too. But anyways, yeah, she's gonna be playing Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, which I'm kind of excited for. Whenever they decide to film that, I mean, I guess Clint Barton's they're kind of done with his character, so I don't know how many more ways you can go with him rather than like set up for the Teen Avengers or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that are not Hawkeye fans, like absolutely loathe him. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't bother me. He's not my favorite character, but he doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, I have one friend that's like, oh my God, why didn't they kill him? I was like, sorry, spoiler
What
alert.
is the beef? Like, what is the beef with him? He doesn't like, first of all, in the first Avengers, he got like such a bad shake that he didn't get to do anything. And then it's like, then this dude loses his family in the snap and goes and starts killing Yakuza members. And it's like, this dude has had a shitty life. He's never hurt me at all. I thought he was kind of a decent character. But
I think some people don't like the actor. I have no problem with him either.
I have no problem. He's good in other movies that I've seen him in, like 28 Weeks Later, that zombie film. If anybody's seen that, he was in that Hurt Locker movie. I thought it was Jeremy Renner. He's pretty decent of an actor, I thought. I don't know.
He was in one of the Bourne movies too. I thought he was good in that.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in the one that I actually did. That was like the only one I didn't watch. Is that newer Bourne movie or whatever they made? Oh no, I did see it. Just kidding. I saw it. It wasn't very good. That's probably why I can't remember it.
But he wasn't bad. Like I had no animosity towards him. I think all those movies, well, the Matt Damon ones, all just kind of mesh into one we
they're all just like, oh, it's Jason Bourne.
So other breaking news.
Yes, we have
how do I know how to fight so well? This is such a mystery.
My God.
So yeah, breaking news. So Mulan. So Mulan, they're finally releasing, but you gotta have Disney Plus and pay $30. So now we're hoping, are they gonna do that with Black Widow? I hope so.
I hope so. I'd pay $30 because if you go to the movie theater, even a matinee showing is what, $10 per person anymore. So I would easily shell out. Yeah, like they used to be $7, but now they're like what, $10 to $12 for a matinee. And then if you want to choose your own seat and things like that, you're paying $15, $20 for one ticket. So I'd pay.
And then you're paying $7 for like a Lagunitas, which is not my beer of choice.
Not at all. Yeah, you can buy beer at movie theaters, but you're paying like $10 and you're getting a 16 ounce of something that they think is craft beer, but it's just kind of like, eh.
Well, yeah, that's what it usually. But ours actually will have actual craft beer. Like we've gotten Coppertail before, and the beer's cheaper than the soda, but they're often sold out of the good stuff. Like every time I go, I swear the Coppertail keg is tapped. But yeah, I usually end up getting Florida Beer Company or sometimes they'll have High Life, but most of the time it's like Lagunitas, something that's not really craft anymore, that's still trying to be craft. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely, obviously I prefer to see it in the theater, but I would hands down pay more than $30 to see it at home. But I'm wondering if they're going to hold out longer just because they know they stand to make more money from Black Widow than they do from Mulan. I mean, it's MCU.
I think they'll probably do that. That's probably going to be like Wonder Woman and Black Widow. I can see them just keep pushing back in hopes that we're going to get that movie theater experience again. I
Yeah.
don't know that we're ever going to. I miss the movies. I'd be back in a heartbeat at movie theaters as soon as like we're able to, of course. But I'd also shell out $40 to watch one of these movies. I mean, I really want to see Black Widow and Wonder Woman. Those are like two of the top movies that should have been out for each respective property this
Yeah.
year. So I don't know, like, because you have kids, their age going of movies, so you probably you can all go out and you spend easily $50 to $80, and then you got to buy snacks and stuff. So it's over $100 for a movie experience, I imagine, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't really like, honestly, the only movies we go to are going to be the Marvel ones, which just my husband and I and the older one go to. And then the Disney movies, which I just bring the little ones to. And I don't really I buy snacks ahead of time.
Well, obviously,
And
if
put
you're
them
not
in my
bringing snacks
purse,
in your
so.
purse, you're wrong. 'Cause I'm not paying
You're just
$6
doing it wrong.
pack of Reese's Pieces or
Right.
whatever. I'll
We
buy
have
over
Five Below next door. Yeah,
Yeah.
Five Below sells the Reese's Pieces for $1, so I'll buy that. And then sometimes you can't. If my husband goes with me, I'm like, put this in your pocket, because sometimes they want to search your purse, and they're not looking for weapons; they're looking for candy.
Yeah, they're like,
But-
let me just move your 9mm out of the way here.
Right.
Oh God, this she's got Reese's. Everybody, get over here.
Terrible.
Like, yeah, my gun falls out, and they're like, just put that back in your pocket. Wait a second, is that a Reese's cup? Hey man, I'm sorry.
Trying to rip us off.
How dare you take from AMC or whatever movie theaters, Regal? How dare you? But yeah, I'm interested to see how many people.
But I mean, because we see them when they first come out, we still end up in these tickets.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if this is successful, like Mulan, the movie looked good. I thought it looked wicked good. So if the movie, a lot of people actually do it that weekend, I feel like maybe they'll release Black Widow based off those, or say it's November and we're still like no end in sight because places like Idaho and Florida can't get their shit together as far as anything. Which I heard that they're talking about like releasing a couple of movies, like that Tenet one in China. It got approved for a release date or something like that. Whereas I almost feel like they should release movies in Europe ahead of us because we don't deserve movie theaters right now as much as it hurts. But yeah, if they make a lot of money or even decent money when it first opens up, hopefully that means we can get Wonder Woman and Black Widow. I did see a theory. Now I'd be interested to see if this plays out, that Wonder Woman is somehow genetically enhanced. Now I don't, in the comics, she's just normal, but I read a theory in like the MCU because of the way she takes hits, the way she kept up with like Proxima Midnight, that somehow like the Red Sparrow project, she's like somewhat enhanced a little more. Cause you see Clint Barton, he gets his ass beat and he's like slow to get up. Whereas she kind of like takes these hits and these falls and she pops right back up. So I'm interested to see if they go that route and be like, yeah, she has some sort of enhancements done to her in our universe kind of deal. Just something I saw, which actually piqued my interest because I wouldn't be mad. So what other news?
Yeah, for a second I thought you said Wonder Woman, but you're talking about Black Widow.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would make sense because she's always, everyone always says, oh well, she's not doing much compared to them. I'm like, she's the only one without superpowers or a suit.
Yeah, she was.
But yeah, we got to give her credit where credit's deserved. Yeah.
So I kind of hope that they do that. In addition to that, speaking of like the home release kind of deals, AMC is kind of like put up a proposal to Universal where they'll run the movies in theaters for 17 days just to kind of make some money for themselves. And then they're like, hey, go ahead and release your movies on the digital streaming platforms, whatever you're trying to do. We just want at least have a chance in movie theaters for a minimum of 17 days or something like that. And it kind of seems like a dumb business model because I'm not going to go see the movie in the first 17 days unless, it's something I really want to, but I'm not missing theaters that bad when I can just pay the same amount or less just to watch it at home a week later.
Right.
So I'm curious to see if they take that deal, which I think they took the deal. And then I'm curious to see if it actually works out for either party. They just might be like, whatever, go ahead, give them like 2 weeks or whatever they want, but we're still going to release this and make a fuck ton of money. So I have no idea.
I feel like all of it's just experimental right now, and I think you're absolutely right. What they're doing with Mulan, they're testing it out for Black Widow. But yeah, I mean, who knows? A year from now, I guess we'll see how some of these experiments play out, and hopefully we'll be back. It's going to change things in the future too, though, because I feel like some people are very happy with some of the changes that have been made beer wise and releasing these movies and whatnot, and they're not going to want to go back to the theaters. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the future too. Some movies, I mean, yeah, you want to see them, but if they know that they can release them at home and you can just pay, like, didn't they do it with Trolls in March? But then I heard Trolls was terrible, and a lot of people weren't happy with
You
that.
bite your tongue. First of all, I've watched. That is the
I
one
haven't
movie.
seen it.
Oh my God, that's the one movie I've seen every single day of quarantine. If we're still quarantining, I don't know if we're still calling it quarantine, but since the pandemic started and they released Trolls World Tour, my daughter has made us watch that movie every single day. The soundtrack is on in the car. The movie's on at the house. I can't do it anymore. I think it's a Stockholm Syndrome thing at this point because the movie's not that bad. Trolls is a good franchise, but at this point, oh my God. However, yes, they did release that. You paid like $40 or something like that, and you got to have it ahead of time, or like a movie theater experience. And I think they made like a few $100 million. Maybe I'm off on those, but I think they actually made a good amount. I'll look that up right now because I think they made a good amount of money off that model.
Damn, that's nuts. Oh, well, while you're looking that up, was there any other breaking news? I know we had mentioned Spirit Halloween, but it sounds like there's conflicting info on if they're going to be opening or not. So
yes. So first of all, Trolls 2 made 10.6. I was just a slight little bit off.
that's still impressive considering it was just a home release.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That many people bought it. So that's actually a good amount. Yeah.
Wow.
We did have conflicting reports. So circulating the Facebooks, the YouTubes, all that stuff was like Spirit of Halloween's canceling stores this year. Whereas we were joking about they're going to have too many stores to choose from now. So there's a letter. I don't know if it's fake. If somebody happens to listen to this, slide into our Instagram DMs or email me telling me it's fake. Yell at me wherever you can find me. But yeah, they're talking about, we're not going to be able to safely open stores, which I don't think that's the case. If you're canceling Halloween, then I'm full on rioting in the streets. I will join the riots now.
It's also a Saturday this year, and I believe it's daylight savings time, so we're supposed to get an extra hour of Halloween.
That's right. It is on a Saturday this year. All right, we cannot cancel.
Yep,
Halloween.
and it's daylight savings time. You get an extra hour of Halloween this year, and we might be stuck at home.
I'm finding something. I don't care what I have to do, but I'm not obviously gonna have a party, but yeah, like, come on, you can't cancel Halloween. This is the year we're supposed to have so much fun because of like Halloween on a Saturday.
Right. But yeah, they already canceled Horror Nights and Not So Scary they canceled Not So Scary a while ago, but yeah, they canceled Horror Nights recently and there were people losing their shit.
I did see that. Is that something you guys go to?
I've gone I went a few times as a kid. And I've gone a few times. We usually only go to Universal when we can get in for free. So I had a friend whose sister worked there. So we went a few years at the employee night. And I have another friend whose mom works there. And I was she gets like discounted tickets. So I was hoping to actually go this year because I haven't been in, I don't know, maybe 3 years. But I'm definitely not going now. So
I went one time back in 2015 when it was like The Walking Dead was like still big, and they had I think Alien versus Predator was also there. I get tickets cheaply through my work, especially when you're living in Florida like I was at the time. So I went and I thought it was cool, but I waited 3 hours to go through the Halloween house. Like they had the Halloween house set up there. And no joke, it took us like 2 to 3 hours just to go through this line for like a 10-minute walkthrough. And I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. Because
I went in 2015.
So we could have somehow seen one another at Horror Nights and had no idea.
Well, I was at the employee night, so I don't think you were there since it was just employees and their friends.
I never sold my soul to Universal or the mouse.
But yeah, so I went in 2015, and I think that was the first year of The Walking Dead. I'm not positive. But I remember, because I'm not huge into horror movies, so Walking Dead I watched. So every room, my friend that I was with did not watch it. So every room I'm like, this is season 1, this is season 2. Oh, we're at Terminus now. So I was very excited. But yeah, the Krampus house. Did they have the Krampus house when you went?
They didn't have that one there, no.
Okay, that one was hilarious. hilarious. Little gingerbread men, and it
Oh
feels
my
like you're being
God.
shot at because you feel little poops of air. But we're jumping ahead. It's August. We should be having this conversation. And you gotta
Right,
wait.
we gotta wait. I saw
All right, so
Shipyard release their Pumpkinhead, so I've already dove into fall. I've skipped all of August. Nothing's happening in August anyways, so I've already jumped ahead to September and October. That's where I'm at.
I told my kids today we can order some Halloween projects and start prepping, but nothing can be done until the first day of fall. That's
Yeah, I gotta wait, but yeah. So now we're talking what Marvel Cinematic? Is that what we're talking today?
And
So last week we talked about who the worst character in
yes, so MCU.
last week we talked worst
My
Marvel
Frozen?
cinematic character.
Okay.
Which mine was Jessica Jones. Hobbies was Iron Fist.
Iron Fist. The immortal Iron Fist.
The immortal Iron Fist. That's what we talked about last week. So this week we actually had a question come in, and it was, what is the right way to watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Now, you want to tell us about a couple of the ways? I think, you can start from Iron Man and go on, but what are the other way that you can possibly watch this?
Well, yeah, it's either production date release or it's chronological date release because the movies obviously go all over the place. I mean, I have the list. I can write the list, and we can actually post that on Instagram as far as chronological versus release date. But I mean, we both obviously watched everything live, so we watched it the release date.
Right.
And honestly, that's my recommendation. What would you recommend? Release date or chronological?
I would say release date, because if you go chronological, then you're starting, of course you start Captain America, then you go, but then after that, I believe it's Captain Marvel, which
right, unless you do Peggy Carter and throw in the TV shows, because then you have to do Peggy Carter after.
That's right. If you're counting TV shows, then yeah, you got Peggy Carter, all that. But if you're just doing movie releases, you have Captain America, and then it goes into Captain Marvel, which starting at Captain America is not a bad thing, but the end credits for Captain Marvel kind of give some spoilers, and then if you watch them in release order after that, which I'm not too sure what the chronological order would be. Maybe you can
share. I have that here. Well, here, while I'm pulling it up, the thing with me is you're gonna have end credit scenes, and you're gonna have beginning scenes. Like Captain America, the very beginning of it actually starts in the present day, and then it goes to the past, and then it goes back for the end credits scene back to present day, because the movie starts when they find him frozen.
That's right.
And I think too many of the end credit scenes are going to be very confusing. Whereas if you're watching them in the release date, obviously they're going to make sure that you have the information you need to understand the scene. Where the hell we're going to get this morning together, guys. We're going to be more organized.
Yeah. So
okay, here it is. So if you're watching them, the chronological order is Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man 1, 2, then 3. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's wrong. This is a zigzag. Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2, Hulk, Thor, Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, Ultron, Ant-Man, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Spidey Homecoming, Black Panther, Ragnarok, Infinity War. And then Ant-Man actually happens during Infinity War.
Yep.
And then, Ant-Man and Wasp is actually happening simultaneously while they're doing Infinity War. So that's your list.
Yeah, I guess that one, it wouldn't matter if you watched. I would say you can go ahead and watch Ant-Man and Wasp. That one, to me, doesn't matter, because either way, you're going to see like the after credits for Ant-Man and the Wasp. They obviously get snapped. And so you kind of just see, which can kind of be like, what's going on here? I don't know. Then you watch Infinity War, and then it shows him actually snapping everybody. So for that one, I would be okay flip-flopping either one, because then you can just roll right into Endgame after that, which I feel like they kind of messed up. I feel like Spider-Man Far From Home, having it be a part of the phase 3, take place as like a epilogue of Endgame, I feel like that kind of like cheapens Endgame's impact a little bit, personally.
Well, I felt like they did it because they were still, doing a nod to Iron Man.
Yeah.
I want to say spoiler, but like if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Endgame, like what are you doing with your life?
It's been out for over a year now. Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it was just holding on to Iron Man a little bit longer and more so closing that chapter. So I'll be curious to see in the next movie that's not a prequel, how they handle him and if they'll mention him and how much of an impact he'll have over the next decade of Marvel movies if they ever resume.
That is curious because you got to look at least for Spider-Man villains, you had Vulture, who was a product of Tony Stark. You had Ultron, product of Tony Stark. You had however many other villains.
Mysterio
also product of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So at what point do we stop having products of Tony Stark kind of be the big bad guys? They're gonna have to move on from them, I guess, at some point. But yeah, everything kind of seemed like Iron Man was at fault for half the reason that Spider-Man's getting his ass kicked.
But yeah, even in Civil War, Tony Stark was essentially the villain if you're on Cap's side.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah,
himself was the villain.
So,
actually, the villain in that movie was created from Ultron, which was a result of Tony. So
Von Zemo, who they're still bringing back. They're supposedly bringing back Zemo, Falcon and Winter Soldier, because he didn't die. Black Panther,
right?
So he'll be.
He just. Oh, right, because he was going to kill himself. Yeah.
He was about to. It was going to get real dark for children in the movie theaters. Their parents like, oh my god, I just saw Captain America and Iron Man beat it out. Now we got to watch. That sounded so dirty, but
beat it. Yeah, that was the best choice of words.
I promise you did not watch Captain America and Iron Man back to back.
Oh, there's fan fiction out there with that for sure.
There's plenty of it. Yes, they beat it out. And probably the version I downloaded was not the cinematic version. I was probably on the wrong website, but you saw Zemo, he caused the battle between them. So these parents are probably like, oh my God, Captain America just beat up Iron Man. Now I'm going to watch this dude shoot himself. And my 5-year-old Timmy's over here. It's like, oof, it got dark there for a second. But yeah, he is alive and he's supposedly going to be the bad guy for Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was supposed to have been coming out in August. Actually, we've been robbed of that too. I didn't even realize because they had to stop production. It was supposed to come out this month.
Yeah, they stopped. I think they were about to start production right before this started. Because I remember hearing about that Disney closing and the NBA stopping in like the same week. And I was like, what is happening?
God, this week is the worst week. If everybody just not think about March ever. I honestly feel like this whole year has been one long week in its own right. But yeah, I think I want to say they were close to the end of production because they started filming last year. And so they had to come back and they were going to do like a little more touch-ups or whatever, finish it off and have August. But then they pushed it back and there's no timetable because you had Wanda and Vision. That was supposed to start up here soon too for like a late release, I think November. But that's on hold as well, probably till like the spring, they say. Right. So we're not getting those, which we're supposed to obviously follow right after Endgame as well to fall out of that. So
all right. So that's one of the things we should start doing more so is like looking up some of this stuff more. See, as we're having this conversation, we're thinking like, oh, hey, yeah, what about this? I heard this, I heard that. So that should actually be a segment in and of itself with us where, and anybody who's listening, give us feedback on this, like where we actually look this up. Cause like I read something real quick that I heard the Supernatural cast is going to go into quarantine and kind of do what the NBA is doing, but I'm not certain. I just read it and kind of kept going. So we should start, looking that up and confirming it. And I think that would be,
we call ourselves news. Jeez.
Right. We got to have the news confirmed. Check our sources.
This is technically issue 2. I just call them issues because you think comics, you think issues. So this is issue number 2. Little newer to the podcast scene, I guess. So we're getting there. We'll get it down pat. The first season of anything is never that great. So we'll get there. But yes, I do a lot of the same where it's like, oh, that's happening. Okay, carry on. And then think back later. It's like, wait, I read this somewhere. Where did I read this? I just read up that they're postponing this, so they're doing that.
Right, but I've listened to podcasts and been like yelling at my speaker in my car. No, it's called this. No, that's it. So it's like I don't want people to be like, no, you idiot.
I do it to Bill Burr.
So yeah, we'll try to start Bill Burr with Bill Burr.
I listen to the Bill Burr Monday morning, and I'm sitting there listening to him. He's like, what was that sports guy's name? And I'm like, it was Tom Brady, Bill. How do you not remember this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, obviously you can't hear me. And by the time I send a tweet, he's going to remember it. Or it's not always Tom Brady, but it's like, Bill, it's this name. So if you're listening, feel free to scream at us. It's fine. Give us tips. Give us whatever you
Right.
need. We'll get there. So going back, I would say definitely watch it in the order that everything came out. You got to start with Iron Man because he was the glue that held everything together. He was the reason the entire cinematic universe started because they didn't want to take a chance. Robert Downey Jr. was some drug addict just coming out of jail. And then they were like, Iron Man. Nobody likes Iron Man. Everybody likes all the other actual superheroes. Iron Man.
Make another Spider-Man.
Yeah. They were Spider-Man 4, roll it
Yeah.
out. Parker's 50 years old, but he's still going to be in college. So
Yeah, right.
But
yeah, no, so we're definitely on the same page there.
Yeah, so I would say start. If anybody has any suggestions, feel free to give it. I will not watch it in chronological. I also didn't like Captain Marvel, but that was just kind of my 2 cents into that.
Well, if you haven't listened to the Hop Heroes, they do, I think, 2 or 3 episodes about Captain Marvel. They do one where they talk about what they think's going to happen, and then they do 1 or 2 about what actually did happen. And they do a really good analysis. We're comparing it to the comic books as well. So if you didn't like Captain Marvel, I think you'll really like their podcast on that movie if you haven't heard them yet.
My issue was it wasn't even like a bad movie, and I don't mind Captain Marvel as a character because she's kind of the Superman. But my issue is it was just generic. I felt like nothing happened because nothing could happen. Yeah,
right.
I mean, because it was before. It came out before Endgame, was it? Right? Because we had Infinity War, then Captain Marvel. So it's like you just kind of had a movie here that was here just to put out a movie to introduce her for Endgame, to which she was also gone 90% of that movie too. So you didn't really need it. So that was an issue.
I feel like she was gone for a lot of that movie though, because she could have ended it much quicker, and they didn't want her to end it much quicker. And they did address that when they're like, well, why aren't you always here? She's like, other universes don't have you guys, and I have to help these other universes too. So it's like, all right. But I didn't love Brie Larson. I like her in other things, but I felt like she was almost just too snooty as Captain Marvel. And I feel like that put a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But there were parts of the movie I loved. I got to say, when they started playing I'm Just a Girl, my first concert was No Doubt. And when they started playing that while she's kicking everybody's ass, I was like, this is awesome. And that soundtrack was awesome. I feel like I owned almost every CD in that movie. They also had Garbage. I remember buying Garbage and my dad being like, what's this CD? This is garbage. I'm gonna be happy when it rains.
Literally. I will say the soundtrack was wicked good because that's when I grew up. So I grew up listening to all those songs on the radio. No Doubt, I listened to them. They played at Warped Tour even at one point, Gwen Stefani, before she disappeared and does, what does she do, like X Factor or whatever the hell it's called these days. I have no idea.
Right.
But
just with Blake Shelton.
That's right. Yes, she's onto serious things. She's no doubt onto bigger and better things. But the movie itself, I don't know, just didn't. It was just kind of there. I remember watching it. I actually got to see it at the Air and Space Museum in Washington D.C. because I was there for work when it came out. So that was cool. But it was there. That's how it was. Maybe other people have different opinions. Like I said, let us know. And do we miss any news? Any other breaking news come out?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything. I think we've been on almost an hour. Of course, you're gonna have to cut out all the times we broke up. So
yeah, we broke up a couple times. We're at about 40 minutes. It's good enough for probably enough this episode. Down all 40 minutes to an hour is generally a good time frame, I imagine. As we get more down pat, we will have a better format, more organized. So with that said, you can find us on Instagram, Hops Geek News. You can find us on mainly Thursdays, also some Tuesdays, not very often Tuesdays, but we are live on Hops News. You can find us on Hops News, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Find us on YouTube, youtube.com/Hops News. Every episode releases on Wednesdays, as well as anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find me on my personal at Matthew Tyler. Where can we find you on the social media spheres?
My social media spheres are Instagram and Untapped, the Hoppy Mommy, and of course Hops Geek news as well. I'll be posting on there. And I will, when this airs, I'll have a list of chronological and release date. I don't know if I'm going to include TV shows because then that's going to get real long because
I feel
Shield
that's
is
a
like
separate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole like weaving thing. But I mean, if I were to start back like with watch it with one of my kids, I would kind of want them to watch the shows too. But I mean, I think watching everything live and watching it not necessarily live, but as it was released is very different than watching it, binging something. That's a lot to binge. I can't even imagine how many hours that is. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And yeah, if you ever tune in Thursdays to the happy hours, I recommend watching on Facebook because we all actually interact with the guests typing and responding in the video as well. And we get breweries to call in and we get to talk and answer to them. So it's very interactive. So I highly recommend watching it on there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's about it.
And don't forget, like, subscribe, share, all those traditional influencer YouTube people speakings. And we appreciate you. Cheers.
Cheers.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.